who's standing out early in training camp, which wide receivers will make the team, and the 8th most important Ram heading into the season. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramley, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your two-time Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, so if you want to check out the video version of the show or you're watching us on YouTube, definitely hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, hit that like button. Just past 7,000 a few weeks ago, trying to get to 8K, so if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe. And also let us know, what do you think is the ceiling for Stetson Bennett? Do you think he could be a future starter for the Rams? Let us know. My name is Doug McKay. My friends call me D-Mac. I've been covering LA sports for over a decade. UCLA football, Lakers for SI, the Dodgers for Dodgers Nation. Now I'm covering the Rams for Locked On. And today I'm flying solo. Mr. Travis Rogers, the People's Champ, he is out. But we've got a jam-packed show for you today. Later in our show, we continue our countdown of the most important Rams heading into the 2023 season with number 8. Then our second segment, new offensive coordinator Mike LaFleur. He had some very interesting comments about the Rams wide receiver position battle. We're talking the early standouts at Rams training camp after a few days, but we begin with the t-shirt that went viral that was worn at Rams training camp. I don't know if you guys saw this, but the Rams, their t-shirt that the players are wearing, some of them say mentally and physically tough players who play smart and love to compete. That's a lot of words for a t-shirt. That is like your senior thesis, an essay on a t-shirt. I can't wait for the hashtag MAPTPWPSLTC. Lots of words on there. It reminded me of the episode of The Office, the Fun Run episode. Michael Scott's Dunder Mifflin's Scranton Meredith, that long t-shirt there. But hey, whatever works, whatever motivates you, it works for me. Not going to lie, I kind of want one. But the first segment, we're talking about these early standouts. And we're starting with Stetson Bennett. And yes, it's only been a few days, but he's picked up right where he left off in minicamp. He's already impressing his coaches. He's impressing his teammates, and he's already making clips go viral. If you get a chance, go to the Rams Instagram, go to their Twitter, and watch this throw he makes to Demarcus Robinson. It's a beautiful throw on the run, a fantastic throw, a great grab there too by Demarcus Robinson, but he's already diming up his teammates, playing with confidence. He's continuing to learn the system, and he's just been very impressive right out of the gates. And I want to go back to something that Cooper Kupp had to say about Stetson Bennett back in minicamp. He said he's made some really big-time throws, and he's seeing the field well. Also, he can move. He's a pretty athletic dude, so I think he's definitely the most athletic quarterback from Georgia that we got on our team. Shots fired. Look at Stafford catching a stray right there. Look, of course, he's only joking, but there is some truth to every joke, right? And Stetson Bennett does have some wheels. He ran a 4.67 40 at the NFL Combine, and yes, that was right middle of the pack as far as quarterbacks go, but he did let up at the end. If you look at his highlights at the college level, he was always getting yards on the ground. He was able to extend plays, and I think that dimension from a Rams backup quarterback is something that's going to help him. If he does get an opportunity, if they give him the keys, I think he can drive it, and I think they can, at the very least, be competitive out there and give this team a chance to win. Now, if we don't see Stetson Bennett once this season, that could be a good thing. That means that Matthew Stafford never got injured, right? If we do see him in a blowout, that's fine too, but hopefully he's a guy that can give this team a chance to win if his name's called upon, and I think he has the maturity to do that in year one. Of course, lots been made about his age. He's 25 years old, but it also speaks to his maturity, right? And if you look at what he's been able to do during his career, this is a guy that's always doubted. He always has a chip on his shoulder. I saw when the Rams drafted him, they tweet out that he has that dog in him. No, he's got that underdog in him, right? He started his collegiate career as a walk-on at Georgia. He didn't take a snap for the entire season, and then he transferred to a community college. Then he transfers back to Georgia, where you go on to lead the Dogs to back-to-back national championships. He was a Heisman finalist. So this guy has proven doubters wrong his entire career. I see some people out there saying that he doesn't have a big arm. He doesn't throw with a lot of velocity. Well, guess what? I bring my facts to the fight. And if you remember back at the NFL Combine, The fastest throw, that was Will Levis at 59 miles per hour. The second was Stetson Bennett at 58 miles per hour. So some narratives are tough to break, and the reality is Stetson Bennett definitely has an NFL caliber arm. And I saw a lot of people out there, they were criticizing this pick. After the Rams selected Stetson Bennett in the 4th round with the 128th pick overall, they were saying, oh, the Rams could have waited. They could have picked him in a later round. They didn't have to draft him this high. Well, guess what? Les Snead, he already said that, hey, he was the top quarterback on their board. Based on the picks they had, that's where they wanted. They wanted Stetson Bennett with that pick, and they got their guy. And I can't stress this enough. Having a competent backup quarterback on a rookie contract, that provides a ton of value. Of course, he signed his rookie contract, a 4-year, $4.54 million rookie contract that'll take him through his age 45 season. No, of course, I'm only messing, but it is definitely going to be a major boost if you can hold down that position, and who knows what will happen later if you can get an opportunity to start. We know there's so many examples of guys that were backup quarterbacks that end up being starting quarterbacks that went on to win a Super Bowl. Kurt Warner was a guy that couldn't even afford to fill up his gas tank. He had 2 kids. He was working a night shift at a grocery store. He ends up in the NFL backing up Trent Green, goes on to win the Super Bowl and makes the Hall of Fame. So anything can happen as long as you have the talent, as long as you have the work ethic and the grit, and I think that Stetson Bennett has all 3 of those in spades. So I think really his floor is as a really solid backup quarterback. I think he's going to work out at the pro level because 1, he's got the arm, 2, decent mobility, 3, intangibles. He plays with that swag. He has that winning spirit. He did perform well in the SEC against SEC level competition, against CFP level competition, leading that team to 2 national championships. And also, he's someone that always just digs deep and gets every single ounce of whatever he's got. He optimizes that. So I definitely think that he's someone that's going to have success at this level. He had a 90.1 PFF grade in the SEC. Last time he played at SoFi Stadium, he won the national championship. So I'm definitely high on Stetson Bennett. As far as his ceiling, I think he could be a starting quarterback in the NFL if everything breaks right, if he gets his opportunity. I'm not saying he's going to be a multi-time first-team All-Pro or Pro Bowler or a Hall of Famer or anything like that, but he definitely has the requisite talent to play in this league. I mean, that's why he got drafted when he did. He's a very unique player. And then one more thought before we move to our next segment is that hopefully at the very least, he's going to be a big upgrade to what we've seen in the past when it comes to the backup quarterback position for the Rams. He has a chance to be a massive upgrade to the Bryce Perkins or the John Wolfords of the world. When you look at the arm strength, when you look at the intangibles, the mobility, a guy that can come in, enter the game, and give you a chance to win. Like we saw with Baker Mayfield, a guy that has that level of moxie, that competitive drive to go and help you win a game. So I'm very high on Stetson Bennett. I think there's a chance he can have success in this league. If he doesn't, hey, he already looks like he's one of those 32-year-old actors that plays a high school quarterback in a made-for-TV movie. So he's already in Hollywood. He get a job as an actor if he doesn't work out as an NFL QB. But I think it's going to work out for Stetson Bennett. I think this guy's been doubted his entire life at every level, and all he's done is succeed. Like I said, he's got that dog in him. No, he's got that underdog in him, and that chip on his shoulder, it works for him. But coming up in our next segment, we've got more training camp standouts and an update on the wide receiver competition. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
Our partners at eBay Motors have teamed up with Locked On Fantasy Football host Vinny Eiler to bring you some of the best fantasy picks each week all season long. Whether you're preparing for a draft or scouting the waiver wire, every week we're going to provide you with players that are guaranteed to fit on your roster. So with draft prep underway for the upcoming season, let's see who Vinny has picked out for us on this week's eBay's Guaranteed Fit Fantasy Picks of the Week. Let's start with Joe Burrow. When the top tier quarterbacks is off the board in fantasy football drafts in 2023, there's another line of luxury passers and runners who are guaranteed to fit in your starting lineup every single week. The Bengals' Joe Burrow remains a classic pick in the top 6 QB1s with his prolific reliability and an offense with great weapons that he incredibly is familiar with. Burrow will get it done again, humming along to big numbers in Cincinnati, right? And with eBay Guaranteed Fit and over 122 million parts and accessories for your vehicle right at your fingertips, you can make sure that your ride is still running smoothly. Air filters, brakes, batteries, taillights, alternators, shocks, struts, you name it, eBay Motors has it, right? And they'll make sure that it's the right fit for your car, because eBay Guaranteed Fit helps you understand exactly what part you need for your vehicle the first time. So go forth, switch gears, crank that AC. It's plenty hot out there right now, right? And say goodbye to sweating if your ride needs a little fixing up, because now you'll always be set up for success from the get-go. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, everything your vehicle is calling for is just a click away. From the parts and accessories that fit your vehicle, just look for the green check. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices at ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
And we are off and running here on Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single day. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And also want to send a special shout out to our everyday listeners, our everyday viewers that rock with us every single day, that don't miss an episode. We appreciate you. And you can join the Everyday Listeners Club too. All you have to do is watch every episode, listen to every episode. Membership is free, and you won't miss a thing about your Los Angeles Rams. But here in our second segment, we're going to continue to look at some of these very early standouts from Rams training camp in the first week, and starting with Puka Naccua. So you guys know that I've been very high on Puka Naccua. I'm still going to rock the Puka shells at the Rams game, possibly, and he's continuing to turn heads, and very similar to what Stetson Bennett did. Stetson Bennett, strong OTAs, strong minicamp. He's carrying that momentum early on in training camp, and the hype train just continues to chug down the track. Stu Jackson, of course, who covers the Rams, he's a Rams reporter for the team. He tweeted out, 2 days into training camp, very apparent the Rams are continuing to test and give big workload to rookie wide receiver Puka Naccua, just as they did during OTAs and minicamp. So that tells you that this organization, they continue to trust this rookie, that they want him to contribute this year. And really, the important thing for Puka is to stay healthy. He has to stay healthy. Health is wealth for Puka Naccua, because he's been banged up throughout his career. I think if he didn't have those injury issues, he would have probably been selected in the 3rd round instead of the 5th round. So I believe the Rams really got a 3rd round talent in the 5th that can contribute in his rookie season. And if you look at his injury history, he broke his foot during his freshman season at Washington. He missed 8 games. He's had some knick-knack injuries, dealt with some hamstring injuries. But as long as he stays healthy, and I think working with NFL trainers and getting that stamina up, getting that training up, I think he's going to be able to stay on the field. But there was a little bit of a scare during Rams training camp when he did leave the field. Jordan Rodrigo does a fantastic job covering the Rams for The Athletic. She tweeted out, Puka Naccua left the field on a cart as practice ended. Michael LaFleur just said he's not totally sure what happened, but believed he was cramping. We'll know more shortly, but LaFleur didn't seem overly panicked. And later she tweeted, the cart was the fastest way to the locker room here. Puka Naccua was cramping, but team says that was the extent of it. So first thing I will say, Puka, drink pickle juice. Pickle juice does wonders when it comes to avoiding cramps, so definitely look into that, because that's going to be crucial. He has to stay healthy, especially early on, especially during training camp, especially early on this season, because that's when he can actually have an impact and learn the system. If you get injured early on, you're not going to have an impact on this season. There's just not enough time. You're going to have those growing pains at some point, and you have to go and suffer those bumps and bruises before you can really realize that potential. Now, can he have an impact this year? I absolutely think he can. I've talked about it on the show on several different occasions. There's some eerie similarities between him and Robert Woods. Can he be Robert Woods 2.0? Can he be the second coming of Bobby Trees for this Sean McVay offense? I definitely think that he has the physical tools and the skills to do just that. He can play on the outside. He's been used in the run game throughout his college career. At Washington and BYU, he had 39 carries for 357 yards, 5 touchdowns, 9.2 yards per carry. So you can line him up back there. You can hand the ball off to him. If you look at his size, he's 6'2", 205 pounds. Woods, 6 foot, 195 pounds. So he's actually 2 inches taller, but also he's big, he's physical. He can be a blocker in running plays. I could see him running those jet sweeps, those end arounds. You can use him as a runner and gadget plays out of the backfield. I can already envision him being used in that capacity. And also as a contested catch warrior. That is what he specialized in at BYU. Go look at his highlights. This is a guy that could make contested catches. He has very strong hands. I think he's a perfect fit for Sean McVay's offense. And also, too, their combine results between Robert Woods and Puka Naccua, they were eerily similar. It's like the Spider-Man meme where they're pointing at each other. They were very similar. If you squint, you can see Bobby Trees in Puka Naccua. Just look at those combine results. Woods, he ran a 4.540. Naccua, he ran a 4.57. Reps at 225, 15 for Woods, 14 for Naccua. If you look at their vertical jump, 33.5 inches for Woods, 33 inches for Naccua. 3-cone drill, 7.15 seconds for Woods, 7.32 seconds for Naccua. So those are very similar combine results. It does feel like to me that this organization, they saw Naccua, they saw that they didn't have that Robert Woods element last season. They wanted to bring that back and kind of get back to their roots with this Sean McVay offense. Now, will he win that wide receiver 3 role? That's a whole nother topic. I mean, you got Ben Skoranek, who I think is going to be a great chain mover. He's going to make catches, get you first down, hit key blocks. You can line him up in the backfield as well. He's big and physical. And then Tutu Atwell, I am bullish. I think that he definitely has a chance to have an impact this season with a healthy Stafford as a deep threat. I think he has underrated hands. I'm going to do a whole segment on Tutu Atwell next week and try to make the case that he is going to find a way to realize that potential and justify the pick. What would have to go right for Tutu Atwell? But as far as right now, look, there could be a world where you got wide receiver 3 by committee. Look, you don't have 3 established wideouts that deserve to be there every single down. Other than Cooper Kupp and Van Jefferson, every other position is up for grabs. So you could see a situation-based approach. If you need a play where you want to stretch the field, you want to take the top off the defense, give the ball to Tutu Atwell. Try to hit him vertical. You need a guy that can hand the ball off in the backfield, Robert Woods 2.0, willing blocker, go to Puka Naccua. If you need a Ben Skoranek, a big physical guy, can try to catch first downs, move those chains, you can go to him. So I definitely think there's going to be some optionality. And then, of course, down the line, you've got Tyler Johnson, you got Lance McCutcheon, you got Austin Trammell, Xavier Smith, Braxton Burmeister, Tyler Hudson. All those guys are competing to make the roster. But as far as who I think the locks are at this point, I think there's no question, of course, Cooper Kupp, Super Kupp, that doesn't need to be said. But 1 Kupp, 2 Van, 3 Sko, 4 Tutu, 5 Puka, 6 DeMarcus Robinson. And then at that 7th spot, I think is the guy they brought in on a veteran minimum in Tyler Johnson, battling out with Lance McCutcheon. Now, of course, Lance McCutcheon last preseason, he looked like a Pro Bowler. He was really the Rams' best receiver during the preseason. It really turned heads. He was phenomenal, but that did not translate to the regular season. He had issues gaining separation when he got his opportunity. He started in Week 12 against the Chiefs. He didn't get a single catch, but he was targeted 5 times. So that success did not translate. We'll see if he gets an opportunity. I do think there is a chance he still is able to make the team. But outside of Cooper Kupp at WR1 and Van Jefferson at WR2, it's an open competition. There is going to be opportunities for these players to earn that spot. Opportunity is knocking for that wide receiver 3 position. And new Rams offensive coordinator Mike LaFleur, he had this to say about the receivers after practice. Similar to the O-line, there's a lot of guys that played last year at that position. A lot of positions across this team that weren't planning on it. No different with the receivers. Probably not having Cooper in OTAs was good for all of us. As much as we always want Cooper out there because he's one of the best to do it, it's been good that these other guys got to get a rapport with Matthew, and that won't stop. So there's been some really good competition. It will be really fun to see how this thing shakes out, particularly when we get into the preseason. It always works itself out, but there is good competition. So that tells you right there that all of these guys, outside of Cooper Kupp and Van Jefferson, they're going to get their opportunities. It's going to be very interesting to see who takes that position because they're all so different. 2-2 speed guys, Skoranek possession blocker, Naccua still a rookie. Is that still an unknown? Will he stay on the field? I think he will. I think he'll continue that positive momentum. Now, statistically, what are fair expectations for Puka Naccua in year 1? Well, I think it's very wide. I think that you could see anywhere from 30 to 40 catches if everything breaks right, anywhere from 300 to 400 yards, maybe 2 or 3 TDs. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was significantly less than that, especially if guys like Tutu Atwell emerge, especially if Ben Skoranek continues to emerge and take the next step in his career. I think Demarcus Robinson was a very savvy signing that could earn a ton of snaps this year. So he's not guaranteed snaps, so it's tough to really assess what kind of numbers he'd put up. But I also think, too, some of the expectations comparing him to Robert Woods, they're unfair because Woods, he was already established in this league when he joined the Rams in 2017. In that year, he had 781 yards receiving. He really wasn't getting the rushing yards yet. He had 2 carries for 12 yards. They really didn't start giving him the ball out of the backfield consistently till the following season. We had 781 yards, got 5 touchdowns. I don't expect him to put up those kinds of numbers, but anywhere from 400 or 500 yards receiving, I think that would be a really, really nice rookie season. Let's not forget, he was a 5th-round pick. Let's not expect first-round results for a rookie player, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it was less than that, something in the 200-yard range if really things don't click or he sustains an injury. But I think this room as a whole, it's looking very questionable outside of Cooper Kupp and Van Jefferson, but that is what training camp is for. That's what preseason is for. I don't think the cupboard is bare. I definitely see talent in there. They just have to realize that potential. And I think this competition is going to be great. I think this competition is exactly what this team needs, especially when you consider how much they're being doubted around the league. People expect this team not to win many games. Most people expect they won't make the playoffs. So to have this competition, especially with your wide receivers, I think it's going to be big. And hey, may the best wide receiver win. We want a meritocracy, right? But coming up in our next segment, we continue our series, the most important Rams heading into the 2023 season. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single day. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Now, here in our final segment, we continue our countdown of the most important Rams heading into the 2023 season. And coming in at number 8 is cornerback Cobie Durant. The Rams need Cobie Durant to have a big sophomore season, and I think there's a chance that he does. He could have a big breakout year and really further establish himself as one of the better players on this Rams team and someone who could be a core member moving forward. They took him last year in the 4th round out of South Carolina, and in his rookie season, just kind of taking a look at some of his numbers. Well, he played 13 games. He made 1 start. He did miss 4 games due to a hamstring injury. But when he was in there, he was productive. He definitely flashed. He had 3 INTs. He had that pick 6 against the Denver Broncos where he's running along the sideline just lightning quick. That tip ball interception against the Atlanta Falcons. He definitely has a nose for the ball, definitely has the nose for the big play. And another thing that I really liked about him is that he wasn't aggressive to come up and stop the run, to make plays, to try to make tackles. He had 22 tackles, had 4 missed tackles, had 1 sack. He was targeted 25 times. He allowed 17 receptions for a 68% clip, had 5 pass breakups, had a 76.3 passer rating allowed per PFF. So that's pretty strong considering the opportunities that he did get. Now, where will he play? What role will he have? I think you're still going to see him primarily in the slot. Like I said, last year, 70% in the slot. I think you'll see him on the outside occasionally. I think depending on the matchup, week to week, they're going to have some flexibility with him based on how he looks. I mean, size-wise, he's not Jalen Ramsey's height, right? He's 5'11". Jalen Ramsey is 6'1", and we know Jalen Ramsey, of course, he's an all-pro. He's a future Hall of Famer. He's one of the best in the sport. Can't expect that from Cobie Durant in his sophomore season, but I do think that he can hold down the star role because he has that requisite aggression. He isn't afraid to come up and stop the run. Last year, his run defense grade was 58.3. That was better than Tariq Woolen at 47.8. So he's shown that ability. He can do a little bit of everything. He can cover. He can sack the quarterback. And I think just from a mentality standpoint, he can be effective in that star role. He's got a ton of potential at quarterback. He's got the athleticism. I think that he's going to be someone that you're going to be focused on because if he can take a leap, that's going to be massive. The Rams already have some stars. They already have some superstars, but he has the potential to be a star. And I think the tools are there. The mindset is there. I think the opportunity is most certainly there. So I'm very excited to see what he can do for the Rams this year. And I think that he absolutely has everything in front of him as far as what he can accomplish. I think if you talk to him, if you listen to him speak, this is someone who's got that charisma. He's got that charm. They asked about his teeth and how he thanked his mom for making him brush his teeth. Everyone thought he had veneers, but he said, no, these teeth are real. My mom made me brush my teeth. So, yeah, this guy is a character, and I think his future could be as bright as his teeth, and let's hope he realizes his potential and becomes that next Ram star in their secondary. But that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Rams. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DMAC_LA. And until next time, whose house is Locked On Rams house?